I originally wanted to wait until early 2024 to do this, but eventually I decided, you know what? I might as well get this out of the way. I might as well get this over with. We do it now and then we just never do it again. So, yeah, we're going to talk about it now. So, before I begin, I just wish to say that if you have not watched the Loud House Search for the Worst Cartoon, the previous Search for the Worst Cartoon that came before this, I highly recommend you watch that video before you watch this video, because then it will make a lot more sense, everything I talk about in this video. For those of you that have already seen it though, let us proceed. So in the Loud House Search for the Worst Cartoon, I talked about how Nickelodeon had been milking the franchise ever since it first came out in 2016, turning it into another cash cow that they can milk alongside SpongeBob. And it's been like this since 2016. Literally nothing has changed at all. It's almost 2024. It's been almost 10 years since this show came out. No, I'm not sorry for making you feel old. And Nickelodeon is still like this. Just think, an entire decade that's just SpongeBob and Loud House and nothing more. That's insane for real. In addition to the original Loud House, we also got the Casagrandes, the subject of today's video, an animated movie that was released onto Netflix. Not one, but two live action movies, and a live action spin-off version of the Loud House, which again is something that I'm pretty sure nobody in the world wanted, and it just shows how creatively bankrupt Nickelodeon is. For today's video, we're going to be looking at the Casagrandes, obviously. Now, the Casagrandes was the first Loud House spin-off, the first thing to come out of Nickelodeon milking the Loud House, and to be honest, this is probably the only thing that, like, I'm okay with it existing. Out of all the Loud House spin-offs and whatever, all the milking stuff, this is the only thing that I'm okay with it existing. I don't mind it existing. If it was just this and the Loud House, I wouldn't have a problem at all. Like, that would be fine. The Casagrandes is a spin-off focusing on Ronnie, Ann, and Bobby, as was their extended family, the Casagrandes, of course. The family was first introduced in the Loud House episode, The Loudest Mission Relative Chaos, and sometime around 2018, early 2019, it was announced that a spin-off series was in the works, focusing on the family, and this spin-off series would come out later in 2019. It ran for about 3 seasons, up until 2022, I believe, when it was cancelled. I have been aware of the Casagrandes' existence for a long time. I remember long back when it was first announced, I acknowledged it, and I'm like, oh god, I can't wait, more of the same crap as before. I was fully aware of it, but I never made a video on it. I never talked about it at all. In none of my Loud House videos did I ever talk about the show itself and what I thought about it. Because my initial thought was that this was just going to be the exact same thing as the Loud House. It would just be a carbon copy of the Loud House. You've seen the Loud House, you've seen the Casagrandes as well by default. There would be nothing to make it different or unique from the Loud House. And that means that whatever flaws the Loud House has, the Casagrandes would have them as well. Unfunny jokes, toilet humor, references to outdated crap, that sort of thing. And I couldn't even begin to imagine how terrible the Loud House fanbase would become once the Casagrandes came out. I just knew for a fact that everything that made the Loud House fanbase awful, it would extend to the Casagrandes as well. And then the show came out, and as time went on, there was just nothing. I basically heard nobody talk about the show. Whereas the original Loud House still had a lot of infamy and whatnot, people parading it around as a great Nickelodeon show, and there was a steady amount of hate for the show building up. I almost never saw anyone talk about the Casagrandes. I just saw nobody acknowledge its existence. And then it got canceled in 2022. And here I am in November of 2023 finally talking about it after 4 years after this came out. So after all this time, after my long history with the Loud House, I am finally talking about the spin-off series, the Casagrandes. And I kind of don't hate this show, honestly. It's not a good show at all, but it's just There's nothing in it for me to hate. It's fine. I know this might seem like hypocritical for me. It's like, why do I hate the Loud House, but I don't hate this? Well, I do have my reasons, and I'll get into them in a little bit, but this is just kind of average. Honestly, I only watched the first 2 episodes of the show, and I know that I should try to be more fair with these shows. If you've been noticing, I've been kind of slacking recently with some shows that I've looked at. Our Cartoon President, I didn't even finish a single episode of it before making a search for the worst cartoon on it. Fairview, I only watched 3 out of the 8 episodes. I didn't even watch half of the show before I made a search for the worst cartoon on it, and I'm sorry, but I refuse to watch the remaining 5 episodes. F that, seriously. I didn't even watch a single episode of The Loud House to make the search for the worst cartoon on it, although, to be fair, given my history of the show and like a lot of knowledge, I have a lot of knowledge about the show, so there was no point in rewatching the episodes and seeing like, oh, you know, maybe my opinion changed, or maybe it actually is worse than I thought. Nothing like that. But then this is just like it's just really f***ing average. There's nothing in it for me to hate, and I do have my reasons. I gotta be honest with y'all about something. I don't know if I hate The Loud House because of the show itself, or if I hate it because of what it stands for. If I hate it because of the impact it's had on Nickelodeon. The fact that after The Loud House came out, Nickelodeon decided to just stop trying when it came to new shows and just decided, you know what, we have another successful Nicktoon for the first time in God knows how long. Might as well milk it alongside SpongeBob. And then just completely neglecting any other modern Nicktoon that had the potential to be like the next big thing for the network, like Rise of the TMNT or Glitch Tex. Nickelodeon used to be a network that was rich with great shows, cartoons, sitcoms, stuff like that. It was just a gold mine, a treasure trove of shows. And then you look at it now and it's just SpongeBob and Loud House, and that's it. That is literally it. And it's been going like this since 2016. There's no like other notable new Nicktoon that's come out since The Loud House. The Loud House has just completely changed Nickelodeon for the worse. The Casagrandes doesn't have anything like that at all. I feel like all of the damage had already been done by The Loud House, and so like there's nothing new that the Casagrandes could do. The whole like ruining Nickelodeon and whatnot, that was already done by Loud House. It's not like the Casagrandes would add to that at all. The fan base as well is another thing. I brought up in the Loud House search for the worst cartoon how the fan base of the Loud House is possibly the worst fan base for any cartoon ever. And when the Casagrandes was first announced, I was really worried that all of the stuff that made the Loud House fan base terrible would like extend to the Casagrandes as well. There would be a lot of like shippings between the Casagrande family members, similar to how it was with the Loud House family, but that never happened. I mean, I very much am sure there are like messed up, disgusting shippings between the Casagrandes, but like it's nowhere near as popular as when it's with the Loud family. In that same video, I also talked about how there was a lot of like really depressing, edgy, like Loud House fan art that depicted the characters in sad, serious situations, and it just boggles my mind that people would do this for like a lighthearted comedic show. And if it was like something more serious like BoJack Horseman or Steven Universe, then yeah, I'd understand, but I don't get it. It's always Loud House. I never see this for any other cartoon except Loud House. And yeah, some of the drawings, like, they can be well drawn. It's not like the drawings themselves, it's not like all the artists are untalented or anything like that. The artists themselves are fine. It's just like I had to question, like, what the drives someone to draw a picture of Luna Loud vomiting in an alleyway after drinking beer? Like, what motivates someone to draw that? What's the idea behind this image? What was the inspiration for drawing this image? Seriously. It's well drawn, the image, but like, that's not enough. Like, I just have to question the motives behind drawing it. And as it turns out, nothing like that happened with the Casagrandes either. As far as I'm aware, not even the Loud House fanbase is aware of this thing's existence. This thing is just kind of fallen off into obscurity, never to be acknowledged again. And I think that could explain why I don't hate this as much as I do The Loud House. And I know how people are going to talk about how, like, oh, the fan base is cringe. I agree, but that's not a reason as to why the show is bad. That has nothing to do with the show itself. And you know what? Yeah, that might be a valid point, actually. But again, the stuff that makes The Loud House bad, it's not here in this show either. Again, I only watched 2 episodes. I don't know exactly how many episodes there are of the show, but I want to imagine there are quite a fair amount of episodes. So for all I know, it's possible that there could be a running gag in this show that is just as bad as, if not worse, than the Clyde nosebleeding running gag from The Loud House. There was one fart joke in one of the episodes that I watched, and that was it for cringy humor. And when it comes to, like, how do you do fellow kids moments, when it comes to stuff like that, in the show, Ronnie Ann has, like, a friend who's Korean, I believe, and she's, like, obsessed with this fictional K-pop group, so that's how you know this was made in 2019, because it has K-pop references in it. Oh yes, reference a music genre whose artists are known for having extremely awful, toxic fandoms. Reference a music genre whose fans used to constantly disrespect deceased people by making tweets that are like, why stand this deceased person when you can instead stand this K-pop artist that is definitely not a corporate manufactured industry plant. Nah, for real, that actually bothers me so much. I don't know how, like, that didn't get more hate, for real. I know this is an old topic. I know they stopped doing this, thankfully, to my knowledge. The last time I saw anyone do this was with, like, Chadwick Boseman's passing in August of 2020, but, like, still, like, why the did they do this? And, like, why did we just let them get away with doing that? Seriously. Genuinely disgusting, seriously. Aside from that, though, there's like there's nothing to say about the Casagrandes. It's fine. It's relatively harmless compared to the original Loud House. Again, you can make the argument that the original Loud House is relatively harmless as well, but again, the impact it has had on Nickelodeon, I think that plays a bigger part as to why I hate the Loud House, but I don't hate the Casagrandes. If it was just treated as just another normal Nicktoon, if it did what everyone thought it was going to do and unleash a new golden age for Nickelodeon, a new fresh batch of great cartoons, bringing Nickelodeon back to its golden days in the 90s and 2000s, then I probably wouldn't hate it at all. Instead, it went ahead and completely destroyed the network, and so now they only have to rely on 2 shows to generate any sort of money. Oh yeah, don't forget the occasional nostalgia cash grab, because there sure were a lot of people out there who had been wanting a new Rugrats cartoon, a new Dora cartoon, a new version of the Fairly Odd Parents that's live action. So many people wanted those to be made, clearly. Yeah, I just don't hate this at all. I feel like it's just an inoffensive spin-off series. Unlike the original show, I don't even know if this is really Search for the Worst cartoon worthy, because the 2 main problems I have with the Loud House, the negative impact it had on Nickelodeon and the cringy fan base, neither of them apply to the Casagrandes, surprisingly. It is just a really average spin-off. There is literally nothing to say about it. It's just it's whatever, you know? It's a cartoon that exists, okay? It's a cartoon. It is one of the cartoons ever made. I think we can all agree on that. Anyways, that's about it. I'm sorry for this video being kind of brief, especially compared to the Loud House Search for the Worst cartoon, but again, I really went into this wondering what it would be like, and I left kind of just like, it's okay, I guess. It's fine. I don't hate this. I'd probably watch more of this, honestly, compared to the Loud House. I don't know. Maybe it's just me being biased. Maybe it's because I'm watching it after all these years. If I watched this back when it first came out, I'd probably be more negative towards it, but I really don't know, honestly. I just don't know. I'd rather look at something that's like really awful next time. I'd rather look at something that's like maybe funny bad, offensively bad. This is just fine, you know? Anyways, that's about it. If you enjoyed this video, then be sure to like, and if you're new to the channel, maybe consider subscribing, as it would be greatly appreciated. Thank you everyone for watching this video, and I will see you all next time. Adios.